Coffee Hour. I'm Sarah Golseth. It is Tuesday, and we have some special guests in the building. We get people in and out of the building every once in a while. Being at the International Center, people like to come visit us, which is fun. And today, we have special guests from LINC joining us in studio to talk about the important work that they do, serving the community. So, joining us today, the Reverend Vince Parks, Executive Director of LINC. Thanks for joining me today.
It's good to be here.
And the Reverend Lonnie Gonzalez, City Director of LINC Houston.
Yeah,
Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Fantastic to have you guys all the way from, I guess, did you both come from Texas?
Correct, Houston.
Yes, Houston.
Nice. How is it down in Houston?
Warmer.
Well, I mean, yeah, it is cold here right now, and like unusually cold for St. Louis. So welcome.
It's kind of nice to see snow once in a while.
And then go back to where it's warm.
We just like to visit snow.
Yeah. Yeah, we hear that. So tell me about LINC. What is LINC?
Well, LINC's been around for a little over 17 years now. Started down in Houston, and God's blessed it in a lot of different ways. Our ministry in Houston's very, very diverse. We have a wide variety of ministry sets in Houston, typically urban, ethnic, often not English speaking. And God's also given us the opportunity to expand. So we have sites now in Los Angeles and California Bay Area, Milwaukee, and the Twin Cities, in addition to Houston.
That's very cool. Now, I'm assuming all of these, even though they're all LINC, do they serve the communities in different ways?
They do. Yeah, depending on the local context. I like to say that all ministry is contextual. So in different places, we do different things. In some places, we're very involved in church planting efforts to reach new communities. The primary thing we do is we empower a local leader to impact their community through the gospel. So we don't deliver a lot of programs ourselves in those areas. We coach, mentor, equip, and resource a local leader to do what God has called them to do in that community.
Fantastic. And so, Reverend Gonzalez, you are City Director of LINC in Houston.
Correct.
So what does that mean you get to do?
I'll give you an example. We're working with a Kunama church out of Eritrea. And Kunama is the language that they speak. And for example, last week we had a mission leader meeting, and one of their mission leaders showed up. He's actually we call a potential mission leader, named Yopi. And we talked with Yopi, and we asked him, how's your ministry going? So we support them. We encourage them. We help them. We cast vision for them in their ministry, and then we help them take next steps in their ministry. So those are the three things that when we talk and interact with them, those are the things that we talk about. So with Yopi, he's reaching that Kunama community. We asked him, so how many families do you think are in Houston that speak that language that you're reaching? About 35 families.
Wow.
Like family units. And
Yeah.
like, great. How many of those have been reached with the gospel of Jesus Christ? All of them.
Wow.
And we're like, wow.
All right.
There's no place left among the Kunamas that we can reach with the gospel. He goes, no. So we said, so now what? Well, we're actually thinking about reaching the Hispanics. Now, they don't speak Spanish, but they have a heart for God and His mission that's burning so bright in Houston that they're actually thinking about reaching a people group that doesn't even speak their language. Those are the mission leaders that we support and encourage in Houston, as an example.
Yeah, that is really cool. That a group that doesn't speak their language is reaching out to another group, and these people aren't from the U.S. either, so they are reaching out in a foreign country even.
Yeah,
that is
the
fantastic.
beauty is they don't see the barriers that we see.
Yeah.
Kunama, Spanish, no barrier.
Let's do it.
Why not? So, what other language groups do you deal with?
So, from the Congo, we're dealing with Swahili. They're from India. We're dealing with Telugu. This is language from India, spoken in India. Let's see, what else are we? Well, obviously Spanish.
Yeah.
A lot of Hispanic ministry going on in Houston. Let's see, with the Eritreans. How do you say that, Vince?
Tigrinya.
Tigrinya. Yeah, I can never say that word. So, but those are the primary ones that we're currently dealing with. There's 96 languages spoken in Houston.
Wow.
So there's a lot of different variety and a lot of opportunity in Houston.
Yeah, that is a lot of opportunity.
Last I heard, I think we speak about 19 in LINC ministries, about 19 languages.
Wow. Wow. And is this all spoken ministries, or do you actually have written, like translated materials as well that you're able to use with these groups?
Where it's available, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't rely on that. So we rely primarily on the scriptures to guide the conversations and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
And just because there's not a lot of material that's dedicated, probably the most we have is probably Hispanic.
Sure.
Spanish materials that's being produced at a mass scale.
Yeah.
That can be
Yeah.
handed out.
So what is the main focus of LINC Houston?
LINC Ministries or LINC
LINC Houston.
Okay, LINC Houston.
Yeah.
I would say we're primarily focusing on church planting among people groups who don't speak English. So that's our main focus. There's a few other things that we do, like campus ministry at the University of Houston. But our primary, we have some food banks that we help support through some of our local ministries that are going on there with Comunidad de Gracia and Centro de Fe. And so those are great ministries that we have going on. But our primary focus is really church planting.
Yeah. Is that similar across the other LINC organizations across the country, or does it?
To varying extents. You know, we're very active in Los Angeles. I believe there's about 15 congregations in the city of Los Angeles proper. And there, our work involves more empowering those local leaders for revitalization and new ministry opportunities around those churches. So by and large, those are lots of small congregations at this point. So a city of well over 11 million people, we have 15 churches. And just trying to help them connect to their community in new ways, maybe help them think about some things a little differently.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have examples from some of these other places of successful ways that LINC has been able to reach out into the community?
Well, sure. And again, it's not always LINC. It's the local leader that we're working with. So one of my favorites is God Touch Milwaukee, where Marty Calderon is the executive director. And he's okay with us sharing the story that he had some trouble earlier in life and spent a little time in the House of Correction. But as someone witnessed to him, he came to faith and came out of the House of Correction with a big heart for the Lord and a big heart for helping men transition back to sober living after their time was served. So he has developed a sober living house called God Touch Milwaukee. 60 men have lived there. One has reoffended. And LINC was able to help him get the legal things he needed in place to be able to do that, get a 501c3 going, and then connect him with local pastors who come in, and there's actually daily Bible study at God Touch Milwaukee, and then a once-a-week worship service. So we were able to facilitate that in Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's so great that these people are able to reach out, meet people where they need to be to bring them into hearing God's word and hearing the gospel. Yeah. What kind of programming other than church planting do you do? I think you mentioned the campus ministry in Houston. How does that work with the university?
Well, you know, it's trying to reach that community, right?
Sure.
And so, programming wise, right now we're really leaning into gospel sharing, discipleship. We're actually doing a disciple maker training next month with all of our LINC churches in Houston, just to stimulate the vision of planting new churches and the vision of training every believer to be able to share the gospel, and not just the vision, but also the tools that they need. This past October, we did a Timothy project in Houston, and we identified 16 potential mission leaders, and they'll be encouraged to attend that training next month so that they can support their local church in gospel sharing and disciple making, and then hopefully eventually planting another church where churches are planting churches in Houston. So as far as the University of Houston, they'll have a core group that'll come under the direction of one of our DCEs, Dorinda Warner. She'll be bringing in a contingent from there so that they can reach folks at the University of Houston. And our prayer is that they'll have a critical mass in a couple months. Maybe, hopefully next year, we'll actually have a church at the University of Houston that's meeting around Word and Sacrament. So we're excited about that.
That's awesome.
So so right now where we're really focusing program-wise is providing that kind of training at the local level.
Sure.
That can stimulate and catalyze new mission starts.
Yeah.
And those big universities, that's such an international community.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so.
Well, and you mentioned with Twin Cities, one of the ones that was on your. Yeah, there's a large international community in the Twin Cities too.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we work a lot with Eritreans, with Ethiopians, with the Oromo, with the Sudanese, the Congolese. And they're not just in the big cities like LA or New York or Houston. Those people groups are in many of our cities. Sometimes they're overlooked and underestimated and we don't notice them, but they're there.
Yeah.
And they need to hear about Jesus.
Yes, everybody needs to hear about Jesus. We have just about a minute left, but how have you seen the work that LINC is able to do with these leaders? How have you seen that make a difference in the communities where you're working? I know that's a big question for 45 seconds.
Wow.
I think in Houston, it's when everyone is working together. And the partnership, when we're working with our mission leaders, as Pastor Vince just mentioned, that it's a lonely place, and it can be very lonely. And so LINC plays that role. LINC Houston plays that role of making sure that they're not underestimated, that they're resourced, that they know that they have someone that's going to be there with them, especially on the days where they feel lonely. And so making visits, with them and just walking alongside them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we are all out of time, sadly. But Pastor Vince Parks, Executive Director of LINC, thanks for joining me today.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
And Pastor Lonnie Gonzalez, City Director of LINC Houston. Thanks so much for joining me today.
You got it.
You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Sarah Golseth. More up next.